Climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing humanity today. World leaders, the United Nations, and many more are trying to come up with different ways to alleviate its adverse effects. However, this past year, the world received a wake-up call to the severity of climate change. From the immense floods in Eastern Europe to the wildfires in California, the increase in extreme weather events made it clear that climate change must be set as a global priority. In this video, we will specifically look at the impact of climate change on mental health. Climate change is known to negatively affect human health in many ways. These impacts include the forced displacement of vulnerable populations, increased risk of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases because of air pollution, increased death and injuries from severe weather events, malnutrition and diarrheal diseases due to food and water scarcity, as well as waterborne diseases such as cholera due to polluted waters. These are just a few of the many different ways climate change is currently impacting our physical health. Mental health is one of the most neglected of all human health conditions, and the mental health impacts of climate change are often overlooked or forgotten. Extreme weather events due to climate change, such as floods, hurricanes, and forest fires, can have direct impacts on mental health, as experiencing any of these disasters can trigger psychological responses, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, trauma, substance use, and survivor or recovery guilt. Individuals that indirectly witness the effects of climate change can also experience intense emotions, such as anxiety or emotional distress about the threats of climate change and the uncertainty of the future. They can also experience a sense of being blocked, disorientation, and passivity. The long-term mental health impacts of climate change include large-scale social and community effects, such as resource quality and availability, displacement and forced migration, the loss of employment and social support, and chronic stress. Recently, various terms describing the effects of climate change on mental health have gained popularity. Eco-anxiety, also known as climate change anxiety, is defined as an emotional response to upcoming threats that may be caused by climate change. These threats may include events such as rising sea levels or desertification, and can also cause individuals to feel helpless or anxious. These feelings are more pronounced in individuals who feel deeply connected to the environment. Solastalgia is a feeling of detachment and grieving to the loss of an important place. It is similar to the feeling of homesickness while at home. This is seen when individuals face changes in their environmental factors and landscapes that they have built a connection with. For example, those who have been affected by natural disasters or those whose homes have been affected by industrial development may experience this feeling. Ecological grief is an emotion or natural response to climate-related ecological losses, such as the loss of species, destruction of land, and changes in ways of life. This is especially seen in individuals who are closely connected to the environment, such as farmers or indigenous folks. Eco-anxiety affects us all differently and is more common in certain groups. For example, today's youths are highly affected by eco-anxiety because even though they are least responsible for climate change, they are the ones that will live to see most of its impacts. Individuals with lower incomes and those from minority groups are more likely to experience food shortages and the effects of rising temperatures in their living environments. Individuals living with disabilities are also more likely to experience eco-anxiety because they are more vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Within Canada, Indigenous people continue to be mistreated and exploited. They are more likely to experience the mental and physical health impacts of climate change. Not only are Indigenous people in Canada more likely to experience extreme weather events, but they are also affected by companies that pollute the environment. Corporate pollution leads to contaminated water, food scarcity, resource exploitation, and land abuse. All of these factors then contribute to the development of mental health disorders in this vulnerable group. Indigenous people are actively voicing their concerns and fighting back because they are aware of their eco-anxiety and have always respected their land and the nature surrounding them. The problem of eco-anxiety is ever increasing in their community, although it now acts as a driving force for the youth to stand up and change and become climate change advocates. Jukipa is a 27-year-old Inuk climate advocate who regularly leads protests and advocacy campaigns. Through her involvement with the World Wildlife Fund, humanitarian organizations, and social media, She educates individuals in the community about their contributions to climate change while advocating for social and political reform. Now, to conclude, climate change is a direct result of human activity on the planet. It is only going to get worse if no serious action is taken. Environmental activists, along with many others, have voiced their concerns regarding the lack of measures taken by the government and world leaders to change the trajectory of climate change. More must be done from their part, as they have the capability to drive systemic change, which is what will have the biggest impact from a global perspective. However, we must not forget that individually, we each play an important role in seeing change. By making small but consistent changes, such as reducing power usage and monitoring our carbon footprint, collectively we can influence change. We must also remember to push our political leaders to take steps towards alleviating climate change and making the health of the planet a priority, because as we can see through this video, environmental health and human health are interconnected.